Tonight, and I'll take your calls in just a little bit, will all be about the defense, and rightfully so. I think when Ole Miss puts up, got the stats right here in front of me. It was a lot of points and a lot of stats to go over. 88 plays that Ole Miss had, 476 yards, and 31 points to Ole Miss, okay? And if we rewind to the game just a couple weeks ago against South Carolina, they also put up numbers against Alabama. So what is going on with this defense? I want to take your calls in just a minute. But as we always do, let's first look at the grades, and then let's look at the stats, and then we'll break it down. I'll take your calls, 205-686-3604. Let's go over the grades first and look at the grades. And here are the grades from Pro Football Focus. The star indicates if the player started or not. You'll see that a lot of freshmen are starting on this defensive side of the football, and maybe that's contributing to the defensive concerns. I want to hear from you in the comment box, and I want to hear from you when you call in tonight. Jared Maiden, you look, he was involved in 91 total plays, which is incredible. Must have been on some special teams as well. Shane Lee, 85 plays. His rating, 53.1. Xavier McKinney, 85 plays, 71.7. And we'll talk more about Xavier McKinney and Anfernee Jennings as we go forward. Notice Anfernee Jennings has one of the highest grades on the defense, 86.4. Him, along with Xavier McKinney, have been two of the staples of this defense. Terrell Lewis only played in 33 snaps, had 85.3. He had that big quarterback sack. So we can look at those grades more in depth if you want to go to BamaInsider.com. But I quickly wanted to show you those grades. Shaheen Carter, 60.9. Patrick Surtain, 62.6. A lot of low grades on the defensive side. Trayvon Diggs, I thought he did a good job, 80.3. Here are the offensive stats, and these are provided by Pro Football Focus. The star, again, indicates that the player started or not. Tua Tagovailoa, despite scoring 7 touchdowns, 82.9. And we got a call that snuck in, so we will go ahead and take it. How's it going? You're on the call with, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling from? You there? Hello?
Hey, man.
Hey, what's up? Robert, right?
Yeah, it was Robert.
Yeah,
my Mobile.
Yeah, Robert. Hold on, Robert. Let me go through these Pro Football Focus grades, and then we'll get right to it, okay? So just hang on real fast. So as we're looking at the stats right now from Pro Football Focus, these are actually the grade outs. You'll see, notice the offensive line. You got Alex Leatherwood, who had 65.6. Chris Owens, 63.4. He continues to struggle. Jedrick Wills, 78.8. You'll notice that Evan Neal did start at the guard position. I know a lot of people were interested to see if Deontay Brown was going to start. Evan Neal, 66.2. And then Deontay Brown, he played in 35 snaps, 63.6. And you can kind of see the grades right there. Obviously, Devontae Smith, 82.7 is the highest graded player for Alabama. Now, listen, when you look at the grades from Pro Football Focus, the grades, these are former coaches and former people who played the game, and they grade the players. I know a lot of people like to see higher grades. Pro Football Focus is brutally honest. I thought some of the grades should have been higher, especially, after Tua's been doing what he does. So look at the grades, take them as it is. I really like to just look at the snap counts. And it is what it is. But we got Robert from Mobile calling. Robert, what's on your mind, man? Hopefully it's something about the defense.
There are 3 words. The defense sucks.
Yeah.
And they're gonna get 2 weeks of the Alabama fans telling them how much they suck. Hopefully they're listening to someone listening to the program, or we listen to the talk shows for the next 2 weeks. Be right. It's been unacceptable what the defense has been doing over the last 2 games against mediocre offenses. They've been letting them score a bunch of points. A lot of them, in garbage time, but still, they've allowed a bunch of points and now a bunch of plays too. Because again, they're not getting off the field. But not only anymore, this offense scores too fast junk. You're not getting off the field. It's up to you guys to get off the field. You get off the field, and you'll be surprised how all of a sudden that seems like the offense is scoring too fast or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's time for them to get a little more urgency in it. And I'm ready to see a good old fashioned defensive beatdown. We just not seeing it.
You know what? But Robert, is the defense Is the big defense gone? Is that a thing of the past? Just like the running game from the past from Alabama? I mean, is it more about score as many points as you can and just, separate yourself that way? Because we're not in the day of college football, even in pro football, we don't see these big defenses anymore. I mean, it's rare that you have a strong defensive team as well. I mean, we're in the day and age of college football, and Nick Saban has talked about that as well, that when you have a quarterback, especially as efficient as Tua Tagovailoa and the weapons that he has, you're going to score points. You're going to score a lot of points. And I think that this is just a new age of college football. And, you're just going to have to hang on and see if you can outscore the opponent each week.
Yeah, when it's this, again, these the missed tackles and it seems like the lack of a pass rush and the missed tackles. I watched the other team, and they look like they're getting after the quarterback. Even the Auburn. Yeah, the other night, again after the quarterback, we're not seeing that from our defense, and again, all the missed tackles are just driving us all insane, and including, of course, Saban is constantly pointing this out. I know, like I said, we're in the era of high power offenses. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that, but it used to be the Ole Misses and teams like that. It would take the Clemson to really rack up points on us. But now we're in the Ole Misses and the South Carolinas, and even the teams we play, the FCS teams are doing terrible. They're getting garbage touchdowns in garbage time as well. It's time for us to see a good defensive beatdown of somebody. I really haven't felt like we've seen it of anyone this season at all. The defense really get after a team from start to finish at all season long. Can we win one game with our defense, like with Notre Dame and Georgia? Well, that was a defensive slugger now. Wasn't no 45 points scored in that game.
No, that's a good point. Now, let me ask everybody right now. Listen up. Let me ask everybody on the show. Is it a Pete Golding problem, or is it the fact that 5 freshmen sometimes are starting on this defense? I want to hear off in the comment box. What do you think, Robert? Is this Pete Golding issue, or is it the freshmen and the lack of experience on the defense?
I'm seeing a lot of the defense. We all know that game when one of the defenders were holding his arms up. Am I supposed to be out here? And he wasn't supposed to be out there. He looked and he said, "There are too many people out here. Mm-hmm. Am I supposed to be out here?" And even in the last game, people not getting off the field in time. Like Alabama trying to get a late substitution. Mm-hmm. Late substitution in. Now, that's coaching. The missed tackles, that's not coaching. That's, could be freshmen taking bad angles. But a couple of that was coaching. So it's time for the defense to wake up and not let the offense have to carry them. We've had the big enough leads to where we haven't had to sweat. But I want to see the defense start pulling some of its weight, because right now the defense is feeling like dead weight.
Now, this is concerning when you have South Carolina and Ole Miss racking up yards and scoring points on an Alabama defense, because those two teams, I don't even know if those are average SEC teams. And with the back-end schedule that Alabama has, that is very concerning. Mind you, Alabama goes on the road to play Texas A&M. Is Kellen Mond better than John Plumlee? I don't know. Maybe he is. I know he hasn't looked like it, but that's a very tough environment to play at, College Station, right? Then Alabama has to take on Mississippi State. A couple years ago, Mississippi State had Alabama on the ropes. And then Alabama has to play LSU, right? In that game, what could the score of the over-under that game? Could it be 110 points, right? Could it be an offensive shootout? And then Alabama has to go on the road to play Auburn, who looks like they're playing incredible football. They manhandled Mississippi State. It's a cause for concern. They have a week and a half to prepare for Texas A&M, who I think is going to be a very challenging opponent on the road. But I appreciate you calling, Robert. Thank you so much for jumping on early on the show. Thank you so much.
Okay, man.
All right, let me go over these stats real quick, and then we'll dive more into it, and I'll take some more calls. And here are the stats from this game against Ole Miss, and look at the yardage by both teams. It's unbelievable. Welcome to college football in 2019, right? Alabama has 573 yards. Actually, check this out. In 5 games, Alabama has hit over 500 yards. Is this more a case of Tua Tagovailoa and his weapons, or is this Steve Sarkisian? Last year, Alabama had over 500 yards in their games in 12 out of 15 matchups. Think about that. That's unbelievable. But right now, 5 for 500 yards. Tua Tagovailoa, incredible showing, 26 of 36, 418 yards, 6 touchdowns, even had a rushing touchdown, 7 touchdowns. The 6 touchdowns that he threw, a record at Alabama. And then how about the play of Devontae Smith? That was unbelievable. 11 receptions, 274 yards, 5 touchdowns, targeted 12 times. That is exceptional play by Devontae Smith. Jerry Jeudy still got his 8 receptions, 84 yards. Miller Forrestall, 2 receptions, 40 yards and a touchdown. And then rushing wise, Nagi Harris, 9 rushes, 71 yards. And then Brian Robinson, I thought he did a great job. This was probably his best game of the season. It looked like he was in 4-wheel drive a couple times, but a lot of penalties as you look to the right side of the screen. 10 penalties. That has to be cleaned up. I believe they had 11 penalties against South Carolina. So, but they only had 1 penalty against Southern Miss. So we really need to clean it up as you move forward. Third down efficiency, 50% for Alabama. And then in the red zone, Alabama 3 for 4. Special teams, we talked about it. Alabama did miss a field goal. They did make a field goal, but nothing's new in that category. As you know, kicking woes continue. Overall, here's how things look for Tua Tagovailoa, who is having a magical season. 76.4%, 1,718 yards, 23 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 225.1 quarterback rating. Unbelievable numbers. Rushing-wise, Nagi Harris, 54 rushes, 337 yards, 19 is his longest with 1 rushing touchdown. B-Rob, 46 carries, 198 yards, 16 was his longest with 2 rushing touchdowns. Kellen Robinson also has a touchdown. Jerome Ford has 2 scores. Look at these numbers right here. Overall, for Tua Tagovailoa, what we're seeing right now, I don't know if you're ever going to see this again at Alabama. Maybe you're going to see this again at some other programs. Maybe not. I don't know. But this kid is special. Every Saturday that you get a chance to watch Tua Tagovailoa, remember this young man in a Crimson Tide jersey, because what he's doing has never been done before, and we can talk more about the Heisman race as we move forward, but this young man is doing something very special. These numbers are mind-blowing. Moving on, here's the receivers. Look at that. Devontae Smith jumps up. 31 receptions, 537 yards, 74 is his longest, 8 touchdowns, 5 of those in this past game. Jerry Jeudy, 38 receptions, 488 yards, 6 touchdowns. Henry Ruggs, 17 receptions, 361 yards. And by the way, here's the update on Henry Ruggs. It was a hip pointer, nothing serious. He should be okay moving forward. Jalen Waddle, 12 receptions, 197 yards. Don't worry, Jalen Waddle's going to get his moving forward. It's just, there's a lot of mouths to feed at this table. Defensive-wise, Xavier McKinney, leading the SEC in tackles with 41 total tackles, playing great football. Shane Lee, 30 tackles. Anfernee Jennings, 29 tackles. Raekwon Davis, 25 tackles. And as you can see, Anfernee Jennings has 3 sacks, which is first on the team. 2 sacks are by Terrell Lewis, who is second on the team. So there's a look at the defensive stats. As we look at the SEC overview, here's where Tua Tagovailoa stacks against the competition. You could see Joe Burrow also having a very good season, but Tagovailoa, his numbers really setting apart. He's been sacked 6 times, which is surprising, but his quarterback rating right up there. Joe Burrow has an incredible passing rating, actually, 225.63. So those 2 quarterbacks continue to shine. Alabama will take on Kellen Mond in College Station at Kyle Field in 2 weekends, and that game should be excellent as Alabama traveling to College Station is always a fun one. And there's kind of a look at the passing statistics. The rushing statistics, Kellen Hill up top for Mississippi State, and then there at the bottom at number 9, that's Nagi Harris with 54 attempts for 337 yards, 1 touchdown, as we highlighted earlier. Look at the SEC overview. The Alabama wide receivers certainly dominating. Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy up at the top, and then you also have Henry Ruggs there at the bottom at number 7. So a lot of those receivers just really doing things on a national level that is really something special. Defensive statistics, as I mentioned, Xavier McKinney up at the top, 41 total tackles, 1 interception on the season. As we move forward, this was the new coaches poll and AP Top 25, and Alabama back at the number 1 spot after Clemson. Clemson should have lost, right? The 2-point conversion by Mac Brown, that was the most ridiculous call. Credit to North Carolina for really having a good season. But I mean, that they had Clemson on the ropes. I mean, if they beat Clemson, Clemson doesn't make the college football playoffs. I'm here to say that. Clemson now at the number 2 spot. I haven't been. Have you been impressed with Clemson? Seriously, sound off in the comment box. Honestly, I've been impressed with Georgia. I've been impressed with Oklahoma, Ohio State, LSU, Auburn, all those teams. I've been really impressed with them. And I mean, but I don't know. I haven't been impressed with Clemson. And here's a graphic that tells even more. Look at Trevor Lawrence compared to these other quarterbacks. 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a quarterback rating of just 78.7. Look at their remaining schedule, too. Florida State, they should win that game. They should beat Louisville, Boston College, Wilford, NC State, Wake Forest, South Carolina. All those should be W's for Clemson. For Alabama, as we mentioned, they got a very tough back-end schedule. That game against Texas A&M, Alabama's going to be favored probably by 2 scores. Still a difficult environment. Texas A&M is very good competition, better than anyone left on Clemson's schedule. Tennessee, Tennessee's been a dumpster fire. Arkansas, they haven't been to Alabama since 2006. LSU is going to be very difficult. You could even maybe consider that a coin flip game. At Mississippi State, Stark Vegas is going to be jamming Western Carolina, no problem. At Auburn, very, very difficult. DJ in Ohio, get your call in just a minute, man. Call back. Let me finish out these graphics. You look at LSU, 4-0 in the season. The rest of their schedule, it's got some difficult matchups. Auburn, Alabama, Texas A&M, Florida. Those are challenging. Ohio State as well. Michigan State, Northwestern. Those are difficult games. Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan. I think Ohio State should. I mean, they're playing some great football, but they could slip up on that schedule. Oklahoma, who's really going to challenge them besides Texas? I guess Oklahoma State there at the end, but as you can see, Oklahoma looks like they have a very favorable schedule. Here's a look at the SEC overall. As you can see, the East up top, Georgia and Florida up at the top, undefeated in SEC play. Same with Alabama, Auburn, and LSU. Here's a remaining look at Alabama's schedule. And don't worry, I'll get back to you and I'll take your calls in just a minute. Just want to go through the graphics. I think it's important as it paints the picture of the Alabama Crimson Tide. We talked about it. Alabama will take on Texas A&M in 2 weeks on October 12th. That should be a very highly anticipated game. The game is going to be absolutely packed. It's a very challenging stadium to play at than Tennessee and Arkansas. LSU, everybody's going to be watching that game. I'll take your calls in just a minute. And Mississippi State will be challenging in Stark Vegas, Western Carolina, and then Auburn. Auburn, I'm telling you, Auburn's very, very dangerous team. Here's a look at those last stats. So I'll open up the call-in line. And no, Dennis, I'm talking about when I'm talking about Mac Brown and his decision to go for it for Clemson. The call line is open, by the way. I thought it was the right call. You got to go for 2, but the play call and that they went with, that option or whatever that was a terrible call. The quarterback, get some receivers running some slants and maybe have the quarterback run it in, but I just didn't like that call at all. Clemson just hasn't impressed me. 205-686-3604 is the call-in number. I know I've missed a couple calls, but I wanted to get through some of those graphics early on. So call in now. Let's talk about this Alabama defense. Let's talk about the good. Let's talk about the bad. And let's have a good night with it because college football, we're in the thick of it. And as you look towards the end and the meat of the college football season, it's really starting to see like there's some separation. And I'm telling you, a team that could give Alabama fits is a team that has a quarterback who's a dual threat. And we all know who one of the top dual threat quarterbacks in the country is. Yeah, Jalen Hurts. Now, I know people are going to say, well, same thing as Alabama and Oklahoma last year. If those two are to meet, yeah, maybe so. But I don't know. Jalen Hurts has found a way to win. And we certainly have seen that before here at Alabama. Hey, DJ, what's up, man? How you doing tonight?
Hey, what's going on, Kyle? This is DJ.
Yeah, man. Good to hear from you, buddy. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind, man? I know it's probably something on the defensive side of the ball.
Oh, yeah. I think there was some good things going on. Like, for the offensive line, I think they played one of their better games. Mm-hmm. Even when Brown was in there, I thought he did good for his first game back. So I thought that was good. I also thought the tight end they put in, that was offensive lineman Rudolph. Mm-hmm. I thought he did a great job as well. As far as the defense goes, I feel like it's not really all the freshmen because those guys got the talent. I think it's some of the coaching too, like Pete Golding. Mm-hmm. 'Cause a lot of people put the blame last year on Tosh DePoy.
Mm-hmm.
But then they turned around and said Pete Golden would call all the plays. So I didn't understand that, you know. If he was calling the plays and the defense was bad, you know, why did he get into the plays? But and then another thing, I feel like the worst position on our defense for the past 2 years been middle linebacker, you know. And Golden, he coached the middle linebacker, so I expect him to, you know, develop those guys. But I feel like this year he kind of get a pass because they freshmen, but like somebody said in the chat, it's the 5th week. You know, you expect, you know, both of them to be better now.
Yeah, but
about halfway through the season.
But I think with that, when you're talking about the middle linebackers, I mean, as Saban said, and I thought this really resonated with me. I thought he hit it right on the money. He said that there's no substitute for experience, and I get that. I mean, these guys are learning on the fly, and it's a challenging environment. I mean, Ole Miss, I thought they had a great game plan. Why, you know, with Plumlee, I mean, he was a very dynamic quarterback. Obviously, they didn't have the overall athletes to beat Alabama, but I think those inside linebackers, I mean, the experience that they lack is certainly going to show up later on in the season, and that's concerning, right? I mean, how are these linebackers going to be able to? And the same goes for every freshman that plays at Alabama. I mean, when you play at A&M, for example, or at Auburn, and you don't have experience for that, that's concerning. And I think that with, you know, the defensive struggles is a big question mark as we go to this next part of the season.
Yeah, no doubt. And then whatever you see, like a safety, even though McKinney is a real good safety leading the team as tackles, that's how you know your defense didn't do that good, because the linebackers and defensive line be making a lot of those tackles. It shouldn't even get to him, some of those people.
What have you thought about Anfernee Jennings through this first 5 games of the season?
Yeah, that's one of the few players I don't worry about on defense, because every year he just keep getting better and better, and by the end of the year he'll be one of the elite pass rushers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think he's been playing awesome. He's been like he been one of the rocks on that defense, playing consistently. Him and McKinney.
Yeah, someone just asked about my necklace. Yeah, you know what? I was given this as a gift from Mitch in Hawaii, and I really appreciate it. So when our callers send something in, I definitely represent it. So if you that's kind of the backstory. A lot of people ask that. Yeah, Rich Rod is the offensive coordinator, and then Mike McIntyre, the defensive coordinator for Ole Miss. So those are some former coaches on the staff. DJ, any concern for Alabama on the road at Texas A&M?
Not no concerns really. Just some of the same stuff. Just the defense, and then being able to stop Long from running the football.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the only real concern. And the kicking game is the kicking game, you know.
I know, isn't it crazy? You know? Isn't it crazy that like the kicking game, we're like, yeah, the kicking game, it is what it is. It's just like, you know, make one, miss one. But really, it's unacceptable. I mean, did you know this? Alabama is only 55% kicking field goals this year. It's like you have one of the greatest offenses of all time. I guess maybe a suspect defense, I guess, in SEC play. And then the kicking game is just like, I mean, 55%. And that's a failing grade, right? That's a failing grade.
Yeah, it's so sad, Kyle. It's like all these other schools, the little schools, every school to find a kicker, a great kicker, and then we can't find nobody. We get like the top kicker in the nation, and you go out there and just miss extra points, you know?
Yeah, I'm starting to think that the kicking game and the kickers are just cursed here, you know? I mean, what else could it be? It's really, really weird. Yeah, Bolivus comes in.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's the same thing with injuries, too. It's like, it's that Louisiana voodoo, man. It's something they done did to us that they messed up our kicking game and they messed up our linebackers.
Hey,
it's all conspiracy, you know?
And speaking of voodoo, hey, if you're in Tuscaloosa, check out Voodoo Wings. Great selection of wings. Nice hit on DJ. By the way, their food, I'm not kidding you, their food is fantastic. So if you're in Tuscaloosa, check out Voodoo Wings. Tell them Kyle Henderson sent you, and check out their nice variety.
Okay, I haven't been to that one, but I've been to a Voodoo Wings before, and they was awesome.
Yeah,
okay,
cool.
I'll check it out.
All right, man. Well, DJ, thank you so much for calling. I got to run. I'll get to the next caller, but as always, thank you for the positivity. You always bring it. You're a great fan. Of course, thank you for being a subscriber, most importantly, to BamaInsider.com.
I appreciate it, Kyle.
All right.
Take care.
Yeah, you too, man. DJ from Ohio, always bringing the positivity and, great call in as well. 205-686-3604. Call in. Want to get your thoughts on this defense. And I guess maybe the question of the night is this a Pete Golding issue with the defense, or is it a lack of experience freshman issue for Alabama's defense? I think offense, there's obviously no issues. Things are looking great. Tua Tagovailoa doing an incredible job. And we got our next caller. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with and where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Mike from Kentucky.
Hey, Mike, what's up, buddy? Thanks for calling. Sorry, I didn't see you. Usually, I know who's calling in, and usually you know introductions. So how you doing, Mike? How's your Sunday?
Oh, it's been going good, Kyle. I'm having a nice, relaxing Sunday.
That's good.
I'd like to talk about the linebackers a little bit.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give us a passing grade considering, we've lost some quality depth the last couple of years. We had a 5-star edge rusher, followed Pruitt to Tennessee. We lost, Anobi, left the team and entered the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. And to be honest about it, Alabama hasn't gotten who they really wanted at linebacker. The last two recruiting classes, the number one inside linebacker in the country from Mississippi ended up at Georgia. Mm-hmm. We didn't get the 5-star talent out of California. So I'd say all things considering, and the key injuries plus losing some depth, I think these kids are doing the best they can with what little they got left. I'm kind of satisfied. You really can't complain too much about it. We lost containment on that quarterback, a few times on the edge, which is totally non-typical for an Alabama defense. But, I'm sure a lot of people realize Alabama recruited that kid as an athlete. That kid's a stud for a freshman.
Yeah, I think, Mike, when you look at these linebackers, I think it's great to point out. I mean, would it be the same defense if Dylan Moses and Joshua McMillan were across the middle of the field? You rewind to the fall camp. Dylan Moses, you're talking about an NFL draft pick, right? I mean, first round type guy. He's out. Joshua McMillan,
a monster.
I don't think Joshua McMillan is an NFL type linebacker, but I think he has enough veteran experience being a senior that he's going to be able to adapt to these different types of games they're in. And I think when you have these two freshmen, I think you're absolutely right. Christian Harris, the guy was a cornerback and a receiver at high school. And now this year at Alabama, he's starting an inside linebacker. That takes a lot of athleticism to do. I'm also
that's a lot of learning curve too.
That's a lot of learning curve. And it's a complex defense under Golding, Golding's getting a lot of the heat, and I'm kind of interested to see what happens in the next SEC game, because you can't allow nearly 500 yards against South Carolina and against Ole Miss. Those are your two SEC games that Alabama has played this year. It's not a good sign. In Texas A&M, let me ask you this, Mike. Do you think Texas A&M is better than Ole Miss and better than South Carolina?
Oh, absolutely. They are. Right? Even when they play bad, they're better than those two teams.
That's what I'm saying. So these two, I don't even know if you would call those teams average teams, Ole Miss and South Carolina. No disrespect, but let's call it what it is. And going against Texas A&M, I think Texas A&M is an above average team. So the concerns need to be figured out. Is it a Golding thing? Is it a freshman thing? It's something worth talking about.
Yeah, sometimes said at a few points in the game, I think Lee was a little tired. It's 109 degrees on the field.
Oh, yeah,
He's a true freshman playing the whole game, playing 99% of the plays, and he had to cover a couple of wheel routes against South Carolina last week, and he just in the third quarter he just don't have the legs for it. He's kind of a stocky kid, and sometimes he gets an assignment that's quite a bit to handle.
No, I think that's another great point, Mike. The kid is 255 pounds, and sometimes he's completely
covering a back out of the backfield late in the game. Yeah. That's not a good matchup, and other people see that. Yeah, and he has a hard time covering those wheel routes.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's a vulnerability for Alabama. Same with Anfernee Jennings. I've seen Anfernee Jennings out in open space before. Now, granted, he's had a great season so far getting after the quarterback, but in open space, if you can get Anfernee Jennings, you can run around him. I mean, he's another big dude, 265 pounds. He's not going to be able to move that quickly when chasing a fast quarterback or a fast running back. So those couldn't be vulnerabilities when you look forward.
But all in all, I'm giving us a passing grade, all things considered. I mean, you can't, we don't look like the defense of old, but, I'm just going to have to give them kids a heck yeah for, they're giving it all they got. And, I'm proud of them at this point, but hopefully we can develop some depth. I'd like to see Cahill come in and give Lee a breather for at least a couple of series, when there's a comfortable lead or something, give his legs a break. Try and keep him fresh.
Yeah, and I think a good point out was Ali Cahill. I think it was a great sign with him getting that block punt, and then he recovered it for a touchdown. I think he's a guy that, at least in my prediction, I think we're going to see him play more as a season goes forward. I think he's a guy who's still, earning his stripes and proving that he can be dependable when called on by Nick Saban and Pete Golding. I think he just has so much athleticism. I think, if he starts playing more opportunistic football, like you said, he can come in, give Lee a breathing room. And I think with those two guys, you have young quality depth going forward. But anything else while you're on the show, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get off the beaten track here for a second. Yep. Did you happen to catch Bryce Young's high school game?
So Bryce,
Modern Day against St. John's,
completely balled out. Completely,
dude. We got another Tua coming, and I'm not blowing smoke. The beat will go. If he early enrolls this year, it wouldn't surprise me a bit if he starts next year. The transfer portal is going to be cranked up, bro. That kid has got otherworldly field awareness. He's as good as Tua. So I just call it like I see it. That kid is unbelievably good.
So check this out. So this summer, Andrew Bone and I, we went to the Rivals 5-Star Challenge in Atlanta, Georgia, right? And we talked with Bryce, and you look at Bryce and you see him and you're just like, well, does this guy
doesn't look like much.
You're like, yeah. How good is he? Very respectable, very well spoken. He was a pleasure to talk to. Yes, sir, no, sir type kid. We talked to him, and then we see him, and he impresses out there, very accurate. Go back, look more at his highlights. Have been checking him out during the season, completely balls out. I mean, you're talking about an impact player, and I think you're right, Mike. He comes in, he early enrolls. You have a quarterback controversy right away going into spring football. I mean, think about the quarterback room, and someone's definitely going to have to transfer. You're going to have Mac Jones. You're going to have Talia Tagovailoa. You're going to have Paul Tyson. Then you're going to have Bryce Young. And then you have, a couple other quarterbacks on the roster. I mean, that's a lot of quarterbacks, and there's only one football, as Nick Saban has said many times.
Dude, this kid is unbelievably good. He's another Tua on and off the field. Just a class kid. Super, like you said, just absolute gentleman. Unbelievable football instincts. Slings the ball like a college kid. He is going to be something. So I don't think we have to worry about quarterback next year. It's going to be a controversy, but I could see a couple guys transferring.
Good stuff, Mike. I appreciate you bringing up Bryce Young. Definitely a big pickup for the Crimson Tide. Please call again next time.
He is awesome. And I'll get off so somebody else can get on. But I think overall, Bama's going to be okay. We've got there's some tough nuts on the schedule to crack. Auburn's looking really good. LSU's looking really good, so it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But, who wants it easy? If we want it easy, we join the ACC.
Killer, Mike. That mic drop right there. That's it, Mike. Good stuff, man.
All right, man. God bless. Have a good evening.
Take it easy, buddy. That was a mic drop from Mike in Kentucky. That was killer. Call line is open, 205-686-3604. Good stuff. We wanted it easy. Join the ACC. It's just true, right? I mean, look at the SEC, completely stacked. And you look at the AP poll, you look at the coaches poll. The cream is rising. The SEC rising to the top, and it's going to be a really fun ending to the college football season. Bryce Young, definitely a big pickup, and I'm kind of curious to see if Alabama can add on another electric player. So stay tuned to BamaInsider.com. Follow Andrew Bone as we continue to dive into the 2020 recruiting class, because it looks like it's going to be special. Big pickup for Steve Sarkisian. Having those West Coast ties definitely important when picking up a big-time quarterback. 205-686-3604 is the call online. Hey, good evening. It's Kyle Henderson. You're on the line. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling from?
This is Cody Hankins from Atlanta, Georgia.
How's it going, buddy? How was your Sunday?
Yeah, I'm good.
What's on your mind, man?
I'm good. I think our defense needs to wake up next week. You got Texas A&M.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's some concerns. What is do you think it's more the freshman? Do you think it's Pete Golding?
I think it's probably both. I think it's both. Kind of both. And then I want to what's that?
Go ahead.
And I want to know what Nick Saban said in halftime about the defense.
Yeah, that's something that would be interesting to hear. What he had to say from the defense, and it'd be kind of curious to see what Nick Saban has to say with Pete Golding this week, and how those two develop. The defense going forward, because they certainly need to tighten it up. Let me ask you something. Now, what was going through your mind when Devontae Smith is catching touchdown after touchdown after touchdown on Saturday?
I thought that was awesome. Get his fifth touchdown, and then get a helmet sticker for that.
Definitely, yeah. You got to – I love those helmet stickers. I wish they'd still give them out. But I appreciate you calling in. Please call again next time.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, thanks, buddy. 205-686-3604 is the call-in number. My name is Kyle Henderson. If this is your first time watching, coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, breaking down Alabama and Ole Miss, talking about mostly the defensive concerns as we go into this open week. And as Nick Saban said, this is an opportunity where you could take off, or it's another opportunity where you can really fix things that aren't going well. And I think now is a perfect time for Alabama to really fix that defense. I want to hear from you. Is it more of a Pete Golding thing? Is it more of a freshman thing? And then tell me, all right, we got another call coming in. All right, how's it going tonight? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Thanks for calling. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling from?
Yo, man, it's Rex from Helena. What's going on, my man?
What's up, buddy? Good to hear from you tonight. How's your Sunday?
Oh, dude, it was great. So I missed the older guy that just called before the one right then. I called his. Mm-hmm. So I know y'all had to talk about Devontae Smith.
We haven't. It was a thing of beauty.
No, and it was, and I love the way that every one of them were like, nah, man, he was open. I loved it, dude. That was amazing.
Well, the thing about these wide receivers, usually you have wide receivers, and what are they? Prima donnas, right? They want, we see it more and more in the NFL. A classic case is Antonio Brown. Spotlight on me, spotlight on me, spotlight on me. These receivers, Jerry Jeudy, he's going to be a millionaire shortly. Same with Henry Ruggs.
Oh, time out. What you're saying, they're not prima donnas or divas or whatever, because they out there, oh, look, boys just caught the ball. Let me start blocking. They all just, if you look, they're like, oh, he caught it. Let's block.
The downfield blocks by this receiving corps is incredible. These guys stock block like NFL players, and I think the selflessness resonates to their greatness. These guys continue to ball out. They have a lot of respect, and just like you said, listen to the Jalen Waddle interview that we have right here on our YouTube channel. He said, just sat back. It was greatness. Yeah, the receiver is unbelievable. And how about Devontae Smith? How humble. What a humble young man, right?
Well, yes, 100%. And I'll tell you something. When the year he caught, 17, when he caught the winning touchdown, if you go back and watch his hustle that whole year, I was going, Judy's bad, Judy's good, but Devontae Smith always had more hustle after the catch than any of them. Yeah. Jerry Jeudy's just a freak. He's just a freak. But Devontae Smith, I was like, dude, that guy's special. And I'm not saying I called it just because of this 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I've just loved him the whole way. They're all going pro. It's like, see ya. It's gonna be terrible when y'all are gone.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I really mean it when I say, this chance that you get opportunity to watch Alabama play, this is special. I mean, this isn't just every single year. And I know Alabama's always at the top, but what Alabama has this particular year is really incredible. I mean, Tua is doing things that are extraordinary. Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith. I mean, Henry Ruggs.
Hey, hasn't Tua, like, was it what's that record that they've been talking about? Was it the SEC? Like what was the Alabama records? But whatever he's doing, it hadn't been done in like 100 and something years.
So the records
that Alabama record, yeah, you know the stats better than I do.
The records that I can speak on are, I'll bring it up. You can check all this on BamaInsider.com. Our team writer Tony Tsoukalis organized the records and did a good job of that. But the two records that he had, number one was throwing 6 touchdowns in a game, right? That's never been done before. He actually had 7 touchdowns on the game, and then this is an excerpt from the article. Tagovailoa's 7 touchdowns give him 86 touchdowns on the career, passing McCarron 80 in the school's all-time list. His 6 touchdowns on Saturday gave him 77 in his career. McCarron, and this is important to note, it took Tagovailoa 27 games to reach that point of 77 touchdowns. McCarron did it in 53 games. So, I mean, think about that. What Tagovailoa, it took A.J. McCarron 53.
The game is evolving.
Games. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, 53 games. I mean, Tua's done it in 27? I mean, it's, the 6 touchdowns thrown, and then he's now responsible for the most touchdowns all time at Alabama. So, I mean, greatest quarterback at Alabama, maybe greatest player at Alabama. I mean, think about that. I'm curious to see. And when we look forward, it's going to be Jalen Hurts versus Tua for that Heisman Trophy. I know it.
Oh, hey, I was about to say, hey, Jalen Hurts is balling out. Now, let me ask you this, though. This is just guy talk. What do you think Jalen Hurts could do at Alabama? I know it's a what if. What if frogs had wings? They wouldn't bump their butts when they jump. But what I'm getting at is, if he was at Alabama right now starting and not Tua, what would that offense look like? Do you think it looked the same? I kind of think it would look the same with a stronger quarterback just going to smash you in the mouth.
Yeah, those are you just asked me a hypothetical, which Saban likes to sidestep.
All right.
No. I think the difference. I think the difference is Tua is a more efficient quarterback, in my opinion. I think he sees the field better than Jalen does. With that said, I think Jalen also brings a special ability to make plays and win games. So I still think the offense is averaging 500 yards a game. I still think they're beating up on teams. I think the better quarterback is Tua, and that's why Jalen left the program. But with that said, these two aren't done yet. And I think it's just a matter of time they find their way against themselves at some point. And I think, with Oklahoma, I mean, you look at their schedule, all they have left is really Texas, right?
Yeah, and they're Jalen Hurts. Roll Tide. Jalen Hurts will ball out. Hey, I'm not betting on anybody to stop Jalen Hurts. And be honest with you, if he wins the Heisman, that's Roll Tide. It is. You can't be a Bama fan and not be like, Roll Tide.
He's built by Bama. That's definitely. But I appreciate you calling in. Please call again next time.
All right, brother. See you.
All right, take it easy. All right, good call. And 205-686-3604 is the call number. I'd be interested to get your take on, these first 5 games, kind of what your biggest takeaways are. I mean, I think, it's clear that the offense is completely rolling. There's a lot of question marks in the defense. The special teams, the same special teams from last year, I guess. Will Reichard, we'll have to see if he comes back to be Alabama's kicker. Joseph Bolivas was in this last game, was 1 for 1, made a field goal, missed a field goal. Skylar DeLong had 2 punts, average of 37. Deontay Brown, he got in there a little bit, but it was still Evan Neal that started. He's a freshman. So I think Deontay Brown is still working his way onto this offense. Is he one of the best 5 linemen for Alabama's offensive line? Maybe so. It certainly adds quality depth, right? When you look at the running game, it's Nagi Harris has 1 100-yard rushing game. Brian Robinson looked really good in this last game against Ole Miss. The defense. What are your thoughts on Justin Ebogbe and DJ Dell? I mean, I know both of those, DJ Dell especially, he was running off the field as fast as he could. He got actually called for one of those penalties, couldn't get off the field fast enough. He's a freshman. We haven't talked a lot about those guys. Have you guys been impressed with DJ Dell this year? 205-686-3604 is the calling number. Jordan Battle, he's another freshman that's playing in the safety spot. A lot of freshmen on the field, a lot of inexperience. But then again, you have some upperclassmen still holding down, as we've talked about. Xavier McKinney doing a great job. Anfernee Jennings, Terrell Lewis. I mean, it seems like they're taking it easy with Terrell Lewis, but when he comes in, he certainly does make an impact. I would like to see him get after the quarterback a little bit more. Shaheem Carter, I thought he struggled in this last game. Jared Maiden, I thought he struggled in the game before, but I thought he did all right this last game. Jalen Waddle, that first punt was strange, right? When he muffed it. That was very uncharacteristic of Jalen Waddle. But overall, I thought he had a solid day. Still had some good punt returns. Trayvon Diggs, he did well. I thought he was going to return that kick for a touchdown. And then on the positives, like we talked about earlier, Ali Kaho with a punt block that he recovered in the end zone for a touchdown. Call line is open, 205-686-3604. You can hit me up. A couple notes about this week. No Nick Saban press conference on Monday. That's usually the schedule. Alabama's going to probably move that to Tuesday. And then we'll slow things down here at BamaInsider.com as I am off to Fairhope, Alabama. So if you have any good recommendations for Fairhope, Alabama, please post in the comment box. Never been to Fairhope. I continue to explore the great state of Alabama. Remember, I'm not from Alabama. I'm from New Mexico, lived most recently in Albuquerque, grew up in Santa Fe, went to school in Las Cruces, also lived in California, lived in Iowa, also lived in Washington, D.C. So I've lived in a couple different spots, but right now my home is Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I love it here. Really great place to raise a family and just a really great spot. So if you have any suggestions for Fairhope, Alabama, please let me know in the comment box. We will have our regular scheduled recruiting coverage this week with Andrew Bone. We'll still have some team coverage, of course. I might do a couple different features this week, kind of breaking things down by the freshmen, kind of looking at the snap counts, comparing the quarterbacks, maybe even do a Heisman comparison between some of these other quarterbacks. And if you missed it earlier in the show, let me see if I can rewind it. I have a couple of graphics that I built out. This was a graphic that I built earlier today. Let me get to it. Sorry. Just comparing, these top quarterbacks and their top teams. Now, of course, there's a couple of top teams that are missing from this. But I think it's a good comparison to look at overall. Call line is still open, 205-686-3604. Trevor Lawrence on the outside left. Looks like he's been struggling this year. 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, quarterback rating 78.7. But you look at their schedule, you got to think that they can win out, right? And that would, I guess South Carolina there at the end. Who's their toughest game? Florida State and their improved defense? I doubt it. Wake Forest? I don't think so. Alabama, look at their schedule. There at the end, they got Auburn. It's going to be very difficult. LSU, very difficult. LSU schedule. Auburn, Alabama, Texas A&M, Florida. You got to think they lose a couple of those games. Justin Fields in Ohio State. Wow, they really beat up on Nebraska, right? Northwestern, I think will be tough. Penn State, Michigan State. Wisconsin. Those are all tough games. They could potentially lose. And then Oklahoma on the far right, led by Jalen Hurts. Who's going to beat them? Texas? I don't know. So, looking at it, you got to think that Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Clemson, right? Would that be it? Who's your top 4 right now? Straight up, who's your top 4 teams in college football? Where does Georgia rank? Where does Alabama rank? It's something worth thinking about. And Clemson, with that schedule, since they survived North Carolina, it looks like they have an open track to the college football playoff again. Could be Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, and Oklahoma, I guess. I don't know. What do you think? So call line is open. I'll take a couple more calls if you guys want to kick around. 205-686-3604. I appreciate all the feedback. Thanks for thanks for joining us tonight. And I appreciate you guys jumping on and giving me opportunity to talk Alabama football with you guys. And it's really great to be here. And as I always say, towards the later part of the show, be good people out there. And I agree, Nathan D. Hey, I do read the comments. There's a ton of comments coming in, but I read them. Like Nathan D just said, Wisconsin is good too. Yeah, Wisconsin's good. They're so good. All right, how's it going? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Robert again. I usually don't call back twice, but I just wanted to address a caller who talks about Jalen winning the Heisman. Again, Jalen's a great guy, and I like him a lot. But if either Tua or Joe Burrows wins out, they win the Heisman. Because they would have had to have they have the best path forward going for the Heisman. They only has one marquee game, and that's against Texas. After that, their schedule. I mean, Oklahoma State maybe, but those two guys will have each other in that will be the marquee game of the year. Alabama and LSU. If both of them are undefeated at that point, they will be ranked high, very high, in the committee, and that will be the marquee game of the season. Then they have Auburn. Then they have Georgia in the SEC championship game. Jalen will have nothing like that on his resume compared to what those two guys will have if they win out.
Yeah, but I think that's a good point, Robert. But on the other side, I mean, when you look at Jalen Hurts, I think, number one, he's going to have the numbers. I mean, Oklahoma clearly pat stats. And I'm starting to think that Alabama's looking at what Jalen Hurts is doing because they're letting Tua play more. They're letting him definitely rack up his stats. But I think when you look at Oklahoma, they pat stats, right? They're gonna have their opportunities, and the way that the season could work out, it could be Oklahoma in the playoffs, and Jalen will definitely have his shot to play one of the big fours, whether it's Clemson, Georgia, or Alabama, in my opinion. This is again the Heisman Trophy goes to someone who's the best player in college football. It goes to the player who has most stats. It's also a popularity contest. There's a lot of people out there that love Jalen Hurts, the way he carries himself, and they love his story, right? Left Alabama after losing his job, went to Oklahoma, earned the team captain, earned everybody's respect, and is completely balling out. He's going to have the stats. I think there's a lot of people in this country that would vote for Jalen to win the Heisman Trophy.
But that's not accounting for the LSU Alabama game. There's a good chance both those teams will be undefeated by the time they meet each other. You will have number 1 Alabama versus number 2 or 3 LSU. That game will be huge hype beyond belief. If Tua or Joe Burrows has a good game in that game, there's no coming back from that for anybody. It just won't be. That game will be just the most hyped and watched game of the season. And if either one of those guys has a Heisman moment in that game, there's no catching them at that point, unless they would have to lose. And even if they lose, still be tough to catch them from that point because that game would just be too huge. And you have the SEC championship game, which would be another huge game. We get to be number 1 or 2 Alabama against number 2 or 3 Georgia, and those guys ball out in that game too. No chance. There'll be no chance for Jalen to overcome that.
And the thing is like both of these players, when you're talking about Jalen and Tua, they both have that ability to rise up when the moment does strike. And I think you bring up a good point. If Tua has more opportunities to play in the limelight, so to speak, in big time games, and he does come through like we've seen him before, I mean, the numbers that he's putting up are ridiculous. I mean, just look at the numbers. It's unbelievable what he's doing this season, and it's going to be certainly fun to watch. But you know what this is called, Robert? This is called rat poison, right? Nick Saban said this is rat poison. So we're talking about things that are so far away, but obviously they're really exciting because I can't even imagine if Tua is up on the stage in New York City with Jalen Hurts next to him. They're reading those stories. I mean, talk about ratings on your program. I mean, that's something I think we all want to see. And then to have that followed up with, guess who's in the college football playoffs? Oklahoma taking on Alabama in Atlanta, Georgia, or even if they're playing in Arizona where the 2 playoff destinations are. But I appreciate you calling back in, Robert.
Okay, man.
Thank you. All right, Robert double dipping, man. He's taking your airtime. 205-686-3604. I'll stick around for a little bit more and take your calls if you want to catch up. And next Sunday, I don't know if I will have a call-in show or not. It depends on how rested I am. It's an open week for me too. Hey, I need to chill out, get my thoughts together. And I'm thinking about this. I know a lot of people like the call-in show. Give me some feedback on this. I know a lot of people like the call-in show on Sunday night. I do too. But I was thinking about moving the call-in show to right after the game, right? Maybe like a couple hours after the game. How do you feel about that? And I know a lot of people have also asked for me to bring back the game tracker. That's basically just a chat where everybody can talk during the game. I'll definitely do that for the game. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know. The only downside, I guess, to having a call-in show right after the game, is just sometimes you're just warped, right? I mean, there's a lot that goes into the game. You're almost like mentally drained. So let me know. Either way, I'm happy to have, the call-in show and definitely catch up with you guys. 205-686-3604 is the call-in number. And this week, Alabama is open, and we got a call coming in. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson, who I'm in line with, and where are you calling from?
Justin, Willie.
Yeah, how you doing? I can barely hear you. What was your name?
Justin, Willie.
Okay, go ahead. What's on your mind? Okay. I think we lost that call. Couldn't really hear who was calling in. 205-686-3604. I appreciate. I'm trying to read through all the comments, and I'll scroll through them again, just so I can, get everything together. And I've also been doing every Saturday morning, or rather Sunday morning. I've been doing kind of like a post-game podcast where I just kind of go through everything and pipe in Nick Saban, and it seems like that's been doing pretty well. But I know you guys like the Nick Saban press conference. I know you guys like the player interviews, and one thing that we've done for the player interviews, I know there was a lot of feedback on getting the audio to be, better. So we've definitely improved, I feel, doing the audio, and that big ups to Tony Tsoukalis because he's the guy who gets the player interviews. So next time you see him on Twitter, give him a follow. Be sure and thank him for that audio because he's really done a great job. I'm the one who does the Nick Saban video. And what I'm going to do for you guys in this next game, I think it's going to be really cool. I'm going to do kind of a day of. And what that will be is I'm going to take you through when I get my media credentials to when I go up the elevators to when, I sit in the seat and really give you a behind the scenes feel of how we do everything and how we make things run at BamaInsider.com. I think it will give you some really good perspective to what all goes into it, because you might just see, you step on the stage right here, even the studio, right? You look at the studio and you're like, well, where is this? And I can, kind of give you a sneak peek on how everything works behind. So just a couple of different ideas that I have for you guys, and just want to continue to produce quality content right here on YouTube. And of course, we would love the opportunity to earn your business at BamaInsider.com. That's where all the coverage is. And if you want to become a premium subscriber to get behind that paywall, to get those recruiting nuggets, to communicate with the Talk of Champions, thousands of Alabama football fans, then the promo code is simply Roll Tide. That's one word, and you can get free 30 days to BamaInsider.com. My email, write it down, Kyle@BamaInsider.com. You can hit me up for all account questions. But I appreciate you guys joining me tonight. It was fun. I mean, it's been a great football season. I always really appreciate just coming on here and catching up with you guys and taking your calls and talking Alabama football. There's a lot to dive into. And we will continue to push through the college football season. I am off to Fairhope on Thursday, but I'll, of course, be around the rest of this week. We do have Nick Saban and some players this week, but Nick Saban will not be on Monday. I'm thinking it'll be on Tuesday, so we'll definitely, bring the coverage back right here on BamaInsider.com. No, I'm not affiliated with the University of Alabama. So I'm employed by Rivals.com, and I am an owner of BamaInsider.com. And then our staff is Andrew Bone and Tony Tsoukalis, and then we have a couple people behind the scenes. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson, who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling from?
Hey, Kyle, this is Carrie Ann. I'm calling from Jackson's Gap, Alabama. It's nice to speak with you tonight.
Yeah, nice to speak with you tonight as well. How was your Sunday?
It was very relaxing. I just rewatched the Bama game, and I'm agreeing with a lot of these people about the defense. It's just not quite up to par as it has been.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of that has to do with we lost the leader of our defense before the season even started.
Wow, absolutely. That may have been the most important thing said on the entire show.
And our defense just doesn't seem to be playing inspired, and I think a lot of it is because they lost the leader. Also, our offense is scoring so fast that our defense is not having enough time to rest. We've lost so many off our defense that we just don't have enough to put in to rest the defense, and that's a lot of what's going on with our defense. And the offense, all I can say is everyone should watch every game.
Yeah.
And watch this offense because it is a once in a lifetime thing. You very rarely have an offense that has this kind of quarterback, that has this many different receivers to throw that ball to. Mm-hmm. It's the most incredible thing to watch. And what gets me is like just when the opposing defense thinks they've got everyone covered, he throws it to a running back.
Yeah.
And then that running back runs down the side and hurdles a player and scores. I mean, it is the most amazing offense to watch. And I have really enjoyed watching them this year.
Yeah, I think you have a couple of great points, probably, some of the best points on the show. And I'm not just saying that. I think number one is the fact that when Alabama lost Dylan Moses, and we talked about it when it happened, that was a monumental blow to this defense. You're talking about Dylan Moses. I mean, everything that he stands for and how he represents himself, he's a Nick Saban on the field. He's a coach on the field. You lose him, you lose so much of the defensive mentality. And then the other point that you bring up is when Alabama is this explosive on defense, that's when you find your defense out on the field for almost 90 plays per game. And that's something that Saban talked about. You want to have an explosive offense, but you want to have control of the time of possession. And when you're going to put your defense out on the field for almost 90 plays, opposing offenses are going to score. I don't care who you are.
Right. That's true. They can't help but get tired, and especially when you're playing in over 100-degree heat.
Oh, it was so hot. And I have to give a credit to the fans. I mean, it's easy to talk from the press box, right? I mean, you got, air conditioning and all that, but the game, before the game, it was, an hour before the game, it was 95 degrees. There was fans, and the students were there. An hour before, it was so hot, I can't even explain it. So hopefully that's the last brutally hot game that fans have to attend at Bryant-Denny Stadium for a while. They deserve some night games. They deserve some time in the shade. They have paid their due in the heat, right? I mean, is this summer ever going to end? It was so hot today. It's just.
I know. I mean, it's like I told my husband today. I said, if it's going to keep being this hot this late in the season, one or two things is going to have to happen. Either we're going to have to move football season, or we're going to have more night games.
Yeah. No, and I think, Saban's really talking about it. I mean, he's there. I know some people behind the scenes. There was a lot of people that, dealt with some medical issues because of the heat during that New Mexico State game. And I'm sure the same case for the Ole Miss game. There was a lot of people in the concourse with ice packs on their head. They couldn't get people in ambulances fast enough. That's a serious concern, right? These are people's lives we're dealing with. And people love Alabama football more than anything. I live in a neighborhood, I'm not kidding you, there's a house a couple streets down from mine that is an Alabama house. It's a crimson house, and it has Roll Tide Roll. It has, it has the houndstooth chairs out front. I mean, this is live or die, and you cannot put fans in that position anymore. I mean, it's too dangerous.
It is. this kind of heat kills people, and it's to be taken seriously. And I know the fans want to stay because they don't want to let Coach Saban down, but you taking your life in your hands when you do that.
And
I don't know what we can do about it, but something's going to have to be done about it. If they maybe add some cooling areas, I don't know how they would do that, but I mean, something's got to be done about it.
Jason Howell in the comment box says, move the season back to October 1st. I think he's right. Well, you know what's interesting? So when we look forward into the season, the national championship game, has anyone looked up the date of the national championship game? Trivia. Don't use your computers. Use your brain. It is January 7th. This year, the national championship game is on, I believe, January 14th. Why is it on January 14th, right? I mean, you might as well have started the season back on October 1st. So it's really pushed back. But I sincerely appreciate you calling in tonight. Please call again. You had some great points, about the defense and about the offense. And I think certainly the loss of Dylan Moses, that's really affecting this Alabama team. We have a couple days to get things sorted out, and Texas A&M will be here before you know it. So, there you go, Jackie. January 12th.
I'm not really too worried about Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. They've lost several of their defensive players too. They're just not quite as good as everybody thought they were going to be this year. So I'm not too worried about them. The team I am most worried about is Auburn.
Oh, that's a good point. Let me ask everyone in the comment box.
Their defense is actually the only defense to me that's actually playing like a Southeastern Conference defense should play. I mean, mm-hmm. Even Georgia has shown cracks on their defense. So, to me, Auburn right now is playing best defensively, and they are getting a lot better weekly with their offense. So by the time we meet up with them in the Iron Bowl, it is going to be one heck of an Iron Bowl.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're seriously, the points you're making, you continue to hit it home. I'd be curious to know everyone's comments in the comment box. Who are you guys most worried about when you look at this season? And I think for me, the same with you, Auburn. I mean, you look at the teams historically that have beat Alabama, they've had a very good defensive front. What does Auburn have? Very good defensive front. Where's the game at? It's at Jordan Hare Stadium. Auburn is playing lights out. Nobody's talking about Auburn. Gus Malzahn is now calling the plays. They do have a freshman quarterback. Maybe that's a vulnerability. But I'm telling you, my first time, I've been to the Iron Bowl, obviously one time, 2 times. Last year, Bryant-Denny Stadium, and then the year before at Jordan Hare. The stadium was electric. That was college football, period. And they beat Alabama like a drum. So, that game is worrisome.
Oh, yes, very. So, everybody's talking about, the national championship. We've got to win our division first.
Absolutely.
And we got to go through Auburn to do that. So, we've got to get our young fellas coached up, get them playing much better on the defense. And, I don't think we have any problems offensively, but we have got to get that defense coached up in a hurry, because when we face Auburn, that's going to be our true test right there.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for calling in. Wonderful call. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. Have a strong week, and please, please, please call again next time.
Sure will, Kyle.
All right.
You have a great night.
You too, ma'am. See ya.
Bye.
Wow, what a great call. Best call of the night. And I love my callers, honestly. From DJ to Mike, all the way through. I've always said that, Rob from Colorado is one of my top callers. I don't know. This last caller might have a new #1 ranking, right? Thanks for joining me on the show tonight. I really appreciate all the feedback. Great stuff. 205-686-3604. If you don't get through, you can leave a voicemail on the show. I'll play it at some point. You can also, email me, Kyle@BamaInsider.com, or you can join the website, BamaInsider.com. So what we do all the time is talk Alabama football. Never stops. And of course, you got team coverage with Tony Tsoukalas, and then you got recruiting with Andrew Bone. So great stuff. Great show. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I'm competing with the Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints. And thanks for giving me your time tonight. We'll take... I actually am going to close it up right now, but thank you so much for calling. I'll catch you guys soon right here on BamaInsider.com. Kyle Henderson coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Be good people out there. Thank you so much for the feedback. Have a great night. Catch you guys soon.